The Trippi Coaching Podcast is brought to you by Hairborn Salon, located at the corner of North Avenue and 53 in Lombard, Illinois. This week, we'd like to shine a spotlight on the salon director of Hairborn Salon, Alex. Alex is always striving to learn, grow, and expand her craft, up to date in all the newest Instagram trends. Alex prides herself in constantly expanding her knowledge. Alex's goal is to tailor a look for each client to make them feel beautiful while embracing their individuality. She has worked as an educator for 5 years of her 14-year career in the beauty industry. She is passionate about blondes, balayage. I'm not going to pretend I know what that means, and I certainly am quite certain I'm mispronouncing that. Dimensional natural color, and hair extensions. Alex works with each guest to find the best suited style for all their needs and believes that each guest should be an active participant in understanding the process of her artistry. Now, I appreciate that because as a personal trainer, I think it's important for people to understand why we're doing the exercises that we're doing, what muscles it's working, why we're doing it in the order that we're doing. So it sounds like she brings that education to her experience as well. So Alex will make you feel at ease and confident while creating the hair of your dreams. She's been part of the Hairborn family since 2016. She has advanced balayage training. So I still don't know what it is, but whatever it is, she's in the upper echelon. It's Balayage. So, if you know what it is, then it matters to you. And she has advanced training in it. So there you go. She's also certified in hand tight extensions, tape in extensions, and halo couture extensions, and is also keratin complex certified. So if you're looking for any of those services, she's the gal for you. You want to go to Hairborn Salon. It's again, you can find them on 1000 North Rowling Road, Suite 10, Lombard, Illinois 60148. And check them out at hairbornsalon.com. And if you tell them that you heard about them on the Trippi Coaching Podcast, you will receive 10% off of your service.
Hey, Tommy.
Hey, Andrea. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm very excited. We have a guest today here on the show.
Yes, we have Bill, a man who completely turned his life around. When I met Bill, he was a bigger guy, and today he's a smaller guy.
He's a smaller guy.
Yeah, he's a much smaller guy. But you guys are gonna love him. He has a personality that just lights up a room, no matter what size he is. And so I'm excited because today we're having him on to hear about his journey and what sparked him to lose almost 100 pounds or more than 100 pounds.
More than 100 pounds, yeah. All right, well.
Let's get started with Bill, and I hope everybody enjoys it. Welcome, everybody. I have my friend Bill here. Bill, how are you?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you so much for asking. Not bad. We've had one snowy week in Chicago so far, so yeah. I can't complain.
You can't complain, and today is a bright and sunshiny day. So we really appreciate you being on our podcast today because you have an inspiring story, and I know that you're at least going to touch one person out there that's looking to get started on a healthy journey. So, when I first met you, Bill, you were a bigger guy. But you always had that beautiful smile of yours. And then there was a period of time that I didn't see you. And then I saw you again, and I was like, "What? Who's that? Who's the new guy? Who's the new guy?" But I recognized you by your smile. You look amazing.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. I think when I met you, I was right at the top, like at about 354 pounds. So, and you're gonna laugh that actually leaving my old job was, step one in my whole let's start taking care of yourself thing. The weight loss didn't come until I started working with Andrea in April of 2022. Okay. All of me started working there. But I think like a lot of people, I did not realize, how you watch a movie and it's not until the second time you watch it that you pick up on all the stuff you missed.
Right.
Well, I had been just listening to my doctor, and I think as my age approached 50 and, my weight was hanging around 350, I was that typical guy, you go to your physicals. Yeah, they say they send you an after, visit summary, but how many of us really dive into it? How many of us compare it to our last summaries? But a conversation struck me that she had with me. Now, this would have been in March of 2022. Okay. So right before I stopped working at the school and, started working with Andrea, she said, do you know how hard, first of all, in the after meeting summary notes, it was obvious that she was aware that I lie about a lot to my doctor. Okay. Because, little things. Exactly. She's like, do you drink? And I'm like, socially. She's like, yeah, she drinks. Do you smoke at all? I'm like, socially. Like, yep, smoking, denies it, the whole nine. So I was feeling better. I had come through COVID, thankfully, unscathed. And there was an underlying frustration about, working in a school and being around kids who are bringing it from home. And it was just a very toxic time, I think, for a lot of people, and a time for change. And so I moved over, we got the new gig, and I take my wife out for dinner in July. So this is late July of 2022. We go to the Cheesecake Factory, do it up big. And, I take home an entire piece of red velvet cheesecake for the next day. Then I get a tingling in my toe. That tingling turned into the most unforgiving gout attack that you've ever seen. And the conversation that I had with my doctor in 22 was, how much do you think you need to eat to maintain 350 pounds? Like if you were a football player trying to keep that weight, how much do you think you have to eat? So, me, I'm a part-time doctor in my own head. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, 5,000, 5,500 calories. She's like, that's right. If you were 20.
Yeah.
but you're not 20, you're 50. So that number drops all the way down to only about 3,000 calories.
Yeah.
And just eating that amount, you will stay this weight. So I have the gout attack. There I am again, sitting in the office, and she says, well, you remember our last conversation? I'm like, yeah, but this is a toe. This is different. This is, and she's like, well, I can write you a prescription every time you come in here, or you can just knock it off.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just knock it off. Like, look at how hard you're working to kill yourself.
Oh.
That's
a flip in the script, huh?
Yeah, it's a flip in the script. And then, she was, the entire time she was coaching me in those after visit notes and those summaries and the metabolic panels with the recommendations on top. So the whole time, looking back years, the entire time that I have been morbidly obese, she's been telling me, hey man, sugar's a problem for you. And congratulations, you're not a diabetic yet, but you're practicing, you are practicing. And that, you know, and it was a cumulative effect because I've been aware of my health considerations ever since I first was diagnosed with sleep apnea.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that awareness and, you know, agreeing to it, being on board with sleeping with this machine, you know, I think the gout attack in 2023 or 22, just it just signed the end for, you know, I'll say it, you know, the immaturity, the invincibility. And I will say that it wasn't until I made a decision to just turn this thing around. That's when the understanding kicked in. And once you understand something, you're just not as combative against it. So it started there.
Yeah, for me, one of the things I try to do with my clients is I want to educate them about what they're doing, why they're doing it, because I believe once you buy into what you're doing and you understand it, you're willing to put more effort into it because you get the why, and you'll understand where this is going to take you if you stick with it. So you coming to that point is obviously it sounds like a big turning point for you.
Yeah, and it is. And, you know, the more educated you consider yourself on the topic, you know, the more likely you are to make a mistake and not notice it.
Sure.
You know,
so go ahead, Bill. I didn't mean to cut you
off.
No,
go ahead.
I just want to know what steps you took to get started, because going from 350 pounds to looking like you now, I'm sure it wasn't a switch that just turned on. I'm sure there was a gradual process with it. So tell us how you started, because consistency over perfection is what always works. And tell us about your story.
Well, and just I guess the first thing to do was to, of course, and I know I speak for a lot of men when they say this, but draw on the support from my wife. Sure. She's a better human being than me. So talking to her about it and sort of getting her okay, because she and I had sort of kind of laid this thing out and kind of looked at what are the barriers, you know, to success here. My routine was a huge problem. Family and friends are a huge problem, and cravings are a huge problem. So now I will say that, like a lot of other people that have been on this roller coaster, I've been in the Biggest Loser contest before at work. You know, I've bet the $20, put it in the pot. Let's do it. So there is no question that, and this is probably controversial, but I'm just gonna say it.
Say it, Bill.
In theory, all diets work.
Absolutely.
In theory, they can all work. The better question is which one works for you and what's right with your lifestyle. And with me, I and this is all in hindsight, right? You look back at things, but I can say that you know, when you grow up poor, and by poor, I don't mean we didn't have the things we needed. It's just that our parents had to concentrate on the things we needed and not everything we wanted. So, you know, that first trip to college and living off campus, that's freedom. You know, no one's here to tell me what I can't eat. And before you know it, and you notice nothing in terms of maturity has caught up yet. You know, you go to college, you're just a bigger teenager acting like one. You graduate college, now you're making some money. And if you're not careful, you're just a giant teenager with an unlimited food budget. And I think that's the slippery slope until you become known as the big guy. It's just part of who you become.
And you could get away with that in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, and then that check engine light comes on, and it's like, ooh, okay, now what do I have to do?
And and one of the problems is during that period of time when you're in college and stuff, you're never learning the skills to make your own food,
Right.
How to cook, how to make a balanced meal. You're getting pizza, you're getting, anything,
Supersized
fast
burritos.
food,
Yeah.
the cafeteria, whatever. And so I find that a lot of obstacles, or one of the biggest obstacles people find when they do get to, say, like their mid 20s or whatever, and they decide they need to start doing something, is they don't have the knowledge base as to like how to make dinner or how to prepare food and stuff, because they've had microwave dinners or gone out to eat or things like that. So
sure, absolutely.
Were you a big guy in college?
Yes, in the sense that I was the biggest. I've always been the biggest guy in the group.
Okay.
Always. And my wife will laugh. One of the things we talk about is, you know what? When you're the biggest person, there's no one to give away clothes to that still have tags on. There's no way. But yes, I've always been a heavy set guy, even since I was a kid. Probably most notable when I was about 17, probably just as I was headed off to school. And I was working part-time at a Pizza Hut. My gosh, as I look back at these things.
Yeah, that's tough.
Come on. When the management is willing to give you things like, you can eat all the breadsticks and dough that you want. We don't care about that. Just don't eat the meat. And so that's what we did. And then when I got older and married and had kids, I was aware of the health, the focus on health. But I would have bet you that I was being healthy by feeding, my family, hey, rice and pasta, hey, noodles, here's lasagna. Look at how fancy this lasagna is. But it wasn't until this last go around when I finally took it serious and decided that we're just going to reduce sugar and we're going to take what God gives us. Okay. We're just going to see what effect it has and we'll go from there. We'll build on it. If I'm right, it'll all fall into place like I think it will. My first exposure to low carb dieting was, I believe, a panel discussion on a morning talk show about how dangerous it was for you and just how much you really needed those pastas and that rice and the breads and the whole grains and everything. And so low carb came into my life as a controversy.
Yeah, it had a negative connotation to it. Yeah.
And it didn't matter what form of dieting you were pitching. You were kind of on the outskirts. People who talked diet stuff back then were, kind of revolutionaries. And anything you say could bother the average family that looked forward to, the peach cobblers and the desserts and everything. So
they don't want to hear that they shouldn't be having that, or at least not as often as they are.
Correct. And even in 2022, when I started this, journey, so to speak, even the internet was guilty or culpable in derailing me and having me chase all kinds of things. If you start Googling, hey, low carb and weight loss, you're gonna be inundated. I joke with my wife, your algorithm will never recover. Your search engine will never be the same. But if you kind of start off and you look at, well, what is the effect of sugar on mammals? What do the scientists already know? Forget dieting and weight loss for a minute. Just, if I'm in charge of the lab animals, what do I know that sugar does to them? Oh, well, it causes inflammation. Okay. It causes joint pain. It gives you fuzzy thinking, bad memory. It just has a lot of negative effects. And so I strayed away from the dictated, hard edged diet plans, um, because I was just interested.
You just picked a direction of lowering your sugar. Let's
Mm-hmm.
go with that. Let's see where we get. So let me ask you. So when you reduced sugar, did you replace it with anything else to help kind of fill the void, or did you just kind of cold turkey cut it out?
Well, here's the worst part of it. Before before I got serious about reducing sugar, guys, I was already using artificial sweeteners
Sure.
every day. It would be nothing for me to go through the Wendy's drive-through, order things you wouldn't believe, and then top it off with a Diet Coke, right? It was just part of it. And so it became easier to just eliminate things and reduce things. That way I could testify on exactly what that change means.
Yeah.
And I think I had heard that when you reduce sugar, you'll lose the cravings for it eventually.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And as it turns out, that part is true for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say how it affects everybody. I also know that I can't testify about the benefits of 100% cold turkey cut everything, because I don't.
Right.
I watched one of your podcasts, and Andrea, the guy, was saying that he loves tacos. He eats tacos every day, and I don't eat them every day, but I love tacos, and my wife and I, we make tacos here at home. And yeah, while I'm grabbing the carb control tortillas from Aldi, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I don't run away from that as something I just can't have.
Right.
But if all the bread I have in a week is 2 tortillas, for a taco, and maybe the croutons that come with the bag salad that we buy.
Yeah.
Hey,
you're doing pretty good. Yeah.
I win, because if I look back, and my week would have comprised, 3 or 4 Big Macs, multiple orders of French fries.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I win. And then I sit back, I let that soak in. And turns out I'm just not as hungry.
That's great.
And that brings me to the second part, which is, if you only eat when you're hungry, that's half the battle.
I'm going to hire him.
The world telling me when to eat is bad news. It's bad news, and it's hard.
When we base our eating habits on the clock, that's when we go wrong. What I teach my clients is to eat at a hunger level when you're hungry, and we call that hunger level 3. And when you eat before or after that, you're actually not doing your body any good at all. If you eat when you're, not hungry, you're just adding more calories to your diet. And when you eat when you're hangry, you're just going to consume all the calories
then you
that
go
you
off
can.
the rails. Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
So, and Bill, you have an awesome attitude about this, because when you gradually take it away by your choice and you jump back and look at yourself like a science experiment, it's really enlightening on really what you're doing to your body. So at any point when you're gradually cutting out your sugar and you're gradually, still eating your tacos and enjoying, do you feel deprived at all? Do you feel like, I can't have that, woe is me? Or do you feel like, I'm making a positive choice not to put that in my body?
There are times.
Mm-hmm.
There are times. And I'll tell you that I am reminded of how deprived I am when I begin to approach family around the holidays.
Okay.
Sure.
But, there are just people in my family who are just old school. And if you don't eat in the morning and you don't eat a big lunch, you're hurting yourself, because, a healthy young man needs to eat breakfast every day. How do you even get your day started? And dealing with the fact that there are people out there who think that holidays mean less if you don't eat. Everything that makes you hurt, sweat, ache, pain, have a gout attack. They don't care about that. And so you just need to balance what makes you feel good versus what makes everyone else feel good. And maybe you'll adopt the philosophy that I have, which is this: don't talk to them about it. Mm-hmm. Don't mention ahead of time what special diet you have or what you require. Oh my God, I can't eat sugar, so do something special for that. No, go there and really, Andrea, like you said, wait for that level 3. Time it perfectly because you're in control of it. It's your hunger under your control.
Yeah. And every little win, it puts that notch in your belt like, okay, I can do it again.
Absolutely. I'm laughing inside because my Thanksgiving plate has slabs of ham and turkey and, lots of things, lots of salad. Like, hey, no potato salad this year. No, thank you. No sweet potatoes. I appreciate it. You know what? No dessert for me. Thank you. But maybe I even have dessert. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll have a slice of cake,
but you still cut those. You made room though. You cut those other parts out so you can still do it. And it's something we've talked about on a previous episode though, is it's tough, especially with family and holidays. It's it can come off as rude to not take that dessert. Grandma made you this apple pie
just for you.
What the hell? Yeah. And you're not going to eat it. It's like, no, but the way you're doing it though, you're making your choices. You're calling your shots. You're like, all right, I'm not going to have this, but then I can have this, and now I can still have my dessert, and then everybody's happy. So that's a very good way to navigate it, and it's good that you're conscious of that, and don't just give in to the pressures of the social aspect of it.
Absolutely. And we're marketed to so hard. You can't get out of bed in the morning without someone selling you food or telling you why this is such a great deal. You have to buy it,
Well, and anytime you see a picture of a Thanksgiving dinner, I mean, it's never just like a couple things on the table. It's a 12-foot table that's, end to end with everything you can think of,
Yeah.
And you're obligated to go eat all of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Pass it around. Take some and pass it around. I spent 6 hours cooking this. I spent 6 hours. You got to try the cranberries. I mean, it's just like, I get it. I get it.
And what's funny about holidays is that people, they usually blow their eating plan or their way of treating themselves over a holiday that's just one day. They blow it for the whole month. Christmas. Okay, well, December 6th, I'm going to start eating like crazy because it's Christmas time.
Well, there's Christmas parties, there's things at work, all that stuff, and it just keeps you getting hit over the head with it. Christmas Day, if all you dealt with was just that one day,
you would be fine.
No problem. Yeah. But yeah, if you're going to dedicate the whole month to it, or if you have to go to some people have like Thanksgiving on Thanksgiving, and then like 2 days later they have another Thanksgiving with another part of the family or something like that. Now they got 2 Thanksgiving dinners.
Yep. Oh man, and you can't turn the corner. And even in the office in March, there's candy and donuts on top of every cubicle.
Yeah,
birthdays. It's like
we Friday morning donuts
unless we eat.
So, Bill, I'd like to go through a typical day of Bill. What are your habits? You wake up. What do you do? What are the healthy things that you do that got you to this spot that you did day in, day out?
All right. Well, I would say that, as everyone who even casually looks into it, when you are cutting sugar, that initial phase, so that induction phase, where your body is getting used to it, that's always the hardest. I recommend you just kind of do it over a weekend. Don't even worry about work and the grind of your daily grind. But my normal day, and I'll give you a day both here and in the office. I wake up here and I make myself a cup of coffee and I sit down and get my workday started.
Nice.
Okay. I do not eat breakfast. I'm not against breakfast. We do have eggs and, there's breakfasty stuff in my fridge, but because I normally eat when I'm hungry, breakfast just isn't a thing. And when I'm working from home and the weather's nice. So even today will be the first bicycling day. Um, Instead of sitting down and maybe eating the leftovers from dinner last night, what I generally want to do is go ride a bike. And I usually ride my bike for 1.5 miles. Now, that isn't a lot, but if that's my lunch, what I found is that losing the weight also took away a lot of core strength and that muscle and strength loss. So I felt that bicycling kept my core strong.
Sure. Yeah.
Losing more than 100 pounds, I felt it in my voice. My voice is lighter. My laugh is lighter. It's not as booming. And so just a incorporation of that activity. And by the way, bicycling, if any of you have arthritis or meniscus problems, or you have old surgery scars like I do, um, everyone can't just go walk 10, 15,000 steps a day. You know, you're going to have to find what works for you, because if it hurts you, you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're going to Amazon yourself some great walking shoes. You're going to drive to the nearest mall. You're going to buy some device that's on your wrist. You're going to count your steps. Your knees are going to hurt if that's not your thing. Because if you're 354 pounds and someone tells you to walk 10,000 steps a day, they're not seeing it from your point of view.
Right.
They're just not. But if you're 354 pounds and someone says you need to ride a bicycle one time around your subdivision, do that for a month, report back on how you feel. If that's working, that's something you're going to be more likely to do. You know, it just is.
I'm real big on riding my bike. And Andrea will tell you. I mean, as soon as the weather turns, I mean, any day that the weather's nice enough for me to go, I'm out there. I love it. I live right off the Illinois Prairie Path, so I get out on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And so like I've got it, and it's for me, like I like going on walks. I'm not a runner. I've never been. I never will be. But I love going on my bike rides, and it's really good exercise. And for me, I actually have kind of a hip issue that I kind of limits how long I can do walks. I can get probably about 3 miles or so in, but on a bike I can do 10 to 20. So I mean, it's just for me, that's what works. So
and doing something like riding around your subdivision every day, and if that's what you did, that's consistent effort daily that built a habit in you, that whether you go the block around or 5 blocks around or 5 miles, it's the habit that you built.
And I bet if you don't do it now, it feels off or something, right?
Well, yeah. Well, and you know what happens is, so winter sets in and the bike's hanging on hooks in the garage, and I'm not riding it every day.
Yeah.
But as if almost by design, we sort of are now back into the office a couple days a week here. So there's another chance for, thousands of steps. And while I'm not trying to set any cardio records, I am interested in, keeping my posture and my tone up. And I enjoy the walk from the parking garage to my desk. And I'm that guy who's not in his seat all day. He's just wandering around the building. So I think the activity level, the increase is very, very important. I think you would do yourself a disservice if you thought that simply losing the weight is the end of the story. And it's not. It's not. I think as the weight starts to come off, it sort of reveals, what kind of damage you've done behind it and underneath it. So I would encourage everybody to stay active, get active, but be careful doing things that aren't you. Just be careful. That's all I'm saying. If you're not into jazzercise, right?
Yeah.
Before you go buy the leg warmers and the whole get up, sign up for the class.
You bought those, didn't you, Bill?
Yeah.
do it on your own first, just so you can testify whether something works.
And these days, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
But these days, it's as it's easy to go on YouTube and find something that, like, you know, you want to try yoga, you want to try, I mean, like, there's something that'll at least get your toes in the water to give you an idea of this is whether or not this is something that you'll be interested in doing. But it sounds like at the core of your plan and your process of doing this through diet and exercise, it's just been a trial and error, looking for what works, what doesn't, what are you comfortable with, what aren't you, and then you just take all the good stuff and then you use that together, and that's what, how it's not, if I'm reading it right, this is how you got to where you are.
Yeah, what you end up with is like an all-star team short list of things that you can do.
Right, absolutely.
That you like.
That you like. And if you will commit to it, what you'll find is that it's so much easier when the cravings aren't bothering you. It's so much easier when family dinners don't bother you. It's also okay to say no to things.
Absolutely.
Don't find yourself at the Cheesecake Factory with a bunch of friends unless you know what you're going to order. You know, you just gotta plan ahead, and that is easier now.
Yeah.
That I can view the world, as I say, through adult eyes. And I've let go of so many immature things from the past that followed me even up to age 50. I still got some of them right now. You know, we may never be done, but that's also why I don't declare myself an expert. And I'm always wary to make sure to tell people that this is just an example of what works for me. But I think when people know that I am a skeptic and I'm typically skeptical of a lot of things, this one was easy. It was easy. And I think the final straw was the gout attack for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I think though what people I think kind of what we were just saying, you know, this is what works for you, but I still think that the plan of figuring out what works for you and what you're comfortable with is something that almost anybody can benefit from. You know, I still think that that is broad enough that it's just find some sort of activity that you're comfortable with and that you can do consistently and you enjoying it, like you said, is very important. If you're like, I gotta go do this, no, it's not gonna last. If you can find something that you actually enjoy, like I like riding my bike, so you know, do that, and then you find the foods that fit the bill for what you're trying to achieve with your diet and eliminate the ones that don't, and you just keep making these, you know, positive forward decisions. I think that that's something that anybody can definitely learn from.
You know, a great question to ask yourself when you're first starting out in your weight loss journey is, what kind of experience do I want to have as I go through this? Because if you don't ask yourself that question, you're just going to default to, well, it's going to be hard. I'm going to feel deprived. I have to eat only this food. And oh my God, if I don't eat this food, I failed. So I might as well start on Monday. If you ask yourself, what's the experience? What do I want to get from this? Losing weight, yeah, but how do I want to feel? Do I want to feel happy? Does it want to feel easy? Then you align those things that you need to do, and it almost becomes a filter. It's like, okay, I want to be happy and not feel deprived. Filter. Should I do that crazy diet? Nah, that already weeds that out because that's not going to bring me joy, you know? So what you've done is you found a way to reach your goal with a smile. And you do it by doing what you love, eating what you love. And I'm sure you made those swaps. I'm sure those low carb tortillas were not the first on your list to, you know, that wasn't what you wanted. But you found a way to eat your tacos and still move the needle to the positive you. And that's the coolest thing about your story. And I love that. So how much weight have you lost, Bill?
At my largest, I was 354. I have been down as far as 227. But today I'm at 237.
Okay.
So, yep.
Your body levels off sometimes.
Yeah, and I think it's direct. It has a direct correlation to my bicycle hanging on the wall. You know, it's wintertime. My bicycle's on the hook, but it's coming down today. And I think the good thing is though is that I know that This year we'll see probably another 50 pounds go. Just because that's where I want to be, I'm thinking, and I'll fine tune that when I get there. But
well, you're
I'm
going to
gonna
be
make another big push.
Well, this year you're going to be lighter getting on that bike than you were last year, you know.
Without question.
So I mean that right there is going to make a difference and change things. I'm in the same boat. I've got some winter weight that I want to kick off, but it really is a matter of as soon as I get that bike outside, then that's when it's going to start really coming off.
Yeah,
So
if we lived in a climate that was all year round, a lot warmer, I think that
I would ride all year, but
we hibernate.
I am not one of those people you see out in January with like the full bodysuit and everything out there. I'm like, for me, I want to enjoy my bike ride and not feel like I'm trying to survive it, you know? So again, it's doing what's fun for you. I like riding when the weather's nice and I'm in the trees and the fresh air and the birds and the whole thing. I need all of that. It's not just that's why it's like I don't like cycling on a stationary bike in the gym. It's just not the same thing, you know. So
right.
But I'm with you, man. I'm waiting on that bike ride.
Yeah, and it helps to be able to collect data, right? I should be able to tell people what will happen to my body if I go a winter without riding a bike.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you know what? And while I haven't skyrocketed and it hasn't trended back up, it's very stationary right now. And I know that, again, being honest with myself, that the screws will tighten as the weather warms up because so much of my activity involves being outside. And I also feel so much better now. I just feel better. I feel more positive. Funny moment. My wife and I, we were with a get together with friends, and lo and behold, as it turns out, I wasn't the biggest guy in the room anymore.
Wow.
And it was really something to sit back and watch 4 other guys in the same room as me have a discussion about just how terrible it is that one of them is the biggest guy in the room now. So there's always room in people's lives for, a heavy friend, right?
Sure.
The big guy in the group, because it makes people who are maybe not as big as him feel good, right? It's why we watch reality shows, because it's always good to see someone doing worse than you. But
that's a great quote.
How unreal to see people going through a crisis about a decision that I made. Because it just changed the dynamics. And if it's that noticeable in a small group of friends that I probably see, once a month, imagine the people out there struggling with families or even their closest friends, husbands and wives. So, getting it together upstairs is so much of a part of it.
It's crucial.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it. And I'll also add in just one last quick blurb is that when I initially said no to the sugar, of course, I had the body cramps, right? Leg cramps at night, at the red light, cramps. So I started, just supplementing my magnesium. Turns out to be just a great mood stabilizer. And I just felt so much better after doing it that I would recommend it to anyone to speak with their doctor about, and make sure that your magnesium levels are where they're supposed to be. And if you have a supplement you're interested in, run it by the person you're already paying to take care of your health. Okay. So many of us are part-time doctors and only in our bathrooms, we don't share what we're taking with our doctor. So take care of yourself and feel good while you're doing it. That's half the battle.
Bill, just quick question. Did your change, did that impact your family as well in their health?
Without question. Without question. Good. Well, part of the thing is right at that time, my kids moved out. So, my sons are older. They're like 26 and 22. They're off on their own. So that meant that it was just my wife and I preparing food for my wife and I. So a lot of the excuses went right out of the window. You know, we didn't need the snacks. We don't need to stretch meals. And it's been really good. And we cook with an eye on us having a lunch that we can take the next day to keep us from buying lunches and buying fast food and taking full advantage of our cafeterias at work, you know. Oh, wow. So
Well,
it's been good.
I'll tell you, you're very fortunate to have a spouse who is loving and supportive of you in this endeavor, because that's an obstacle that a lot of people face, and that one person might really be dialed in and want to do this and really make a change in their life, and the other person may not, and may even become resentful of that person for making, the effort, that they have a hard time pulling together. So, I mean, God bless you and your wife for being able to do it together.
She has also lost a ton of weight. So it hasn't just been my journey. I think overall total, I've lost more weight than she has, just because I was so much sicker, right? I was sicker and
it's
so much more obese that her 50 pounds is unbelievable.
But that's huge. Yeah, that's great.
Well, Bill, you have such a positive attitude. You are infectious. Your smile's infectious. I love you to pieces. I appreciate everything that you have given our listeners, because I know that there's people out there that had that gout attack and they don't know where to begin. And so your story has touched a lot of people, I know, and that they will make a change too when they're ready.
It's been a real pleasure, my friend, getting to know you. Man.
Thank you.
You're a cool guy, and I appreciate you coming on the show and joining us.
Bill, and we're going to be checking in with you again in a few months and see how your journey's progressing. And
be my pleasure.
Back on? All right, good.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Bill, and we'll be checking in with you soon. All right. You have a good day. Get out there on that bike, man.
Thanks, Bill.
You too. Hey, you guys keep up the good work. We appreciate what you do. It does matter.
I appreciate you, Bill. We love you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Boy, was he a dose of sunshine or what?
Yeah, very cool guy.
Oh, God.
It's good to meet him, and I appreciate him sharing his story. It's like we've said, any testimony that anyone has to their success, granted, it's been what works for them personally, but there's always going to be someone out there who can pull something out of that, hopefully for themselves.
His story is one of balance and self-improvement. And, what was cool about this interview is we hardly even talked about food.
Right.
It was all about his mindset. And that is the key to a successful, sustainable weight loss. When you change what's upstairs, you'll change what's downstairs. And that's, Bill is just, I'm really happy to have him on here.
Right. Consistency is the key to results. And the way to consistency is, like you said, it's through finding ways that you like and things that you enjoy and things that work for you.
So that you could redo it. You could do it for the rest of your life.
Right. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, he's, he had that kind of maintenance, phase for the winter time and everything, but, he's anxious to get out on that bike. And like I said, he's getting on the bike this year lighter than he was last year. And, I think he'll kill that weight pretty quick, to be honest, and just feel better while he's riding.
And what's really cool about Bill is that he didn't have any guilt associated with not riding his bike in the winter and being up 10 pounds. He just knew that that was the case and that he'll shed the weight as soon as he gets out, which sounds like he's going to do today.
And like I said, I'm in the same boat too. I mean, like I go through the winter time, and hey, if I could get out and ride my bike, trust me, I would. It's one of the things that makes me happiest in the world, is being out on that bike. But the weather's going to be turning any time now, and then I'll be out there with them. So,
yeah. Well, we hope, everybody, that Bill inspired you to take that next step in whatever journey you're on, to be a better version of you.
Yeah. So thank you to Bill again for coming on. As always, I, of course, have been who else but Tommy Else.
And I am Andrea Trippi. And until the next time, here's to a healthier, more confident you.
The Trippi Coaching Podcast is produced and mixed by me. Who else but Tommy Else? Theme song provided by Professor Click. Be sure and check him out at professorclick.com. All one word, KLIQ.com. The content provided in the Trippi Coaching Podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical, health, wellness advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition.